Mahomes went first, then you saw what happened afterwards with Watson. What's the Chiefs' perspective on their decision?
Patrick Mahomes, no matter what. It's like that movie Draft Day with Vontae Mack, because they went into that process locked in on Mahomes. I spoke to a source that said as early as January of that draft year, they knew Mahomes was their top quarterback. Now, they did their recon work on everybody. They loved Deshaun Watson, believed that he had a chance to be a superstar. They just like Mahomes better. So if it came down to a pick between the two, they were always going to go with the guy they have now.
Jeremy Fowler reporting from the Chiefs as we get set for maybe the marquee matchup of the weekend and you could say of the future. Let's bring back the guys here and we talk about this because, again, there was a rich time here where it was always every year Brady versus Manning, right? Do you feel that this is going to be the next Brady versus Manning matchup?
To me, it is. And it looks different, right? It's a little more exciting. It's moved into the new age. It's moved into quarterbacks that can move around and create plays for themselves. And we're looking at two dudes who are showing they don't necessarily need a lot of things around them to be efficient at this position and to be dynamic because they just are. When you look at what these two players have brought to the NFL and the time that the game is changing, they are the leaders of that new school, the leaders of that new movement. And I'm excited to see this game. You have Patrick Mahomes coming off of an injury. Now we get to see him deal with adversity against Deshaun Watson, who's coming off a perfect passer rating after being down a week. This is the type of game you need to see if you want to watch these young players go at it.
I can't wait for this game, and I just feel fortunate that NFL offensive minds have finally caught up to the ability of these athletes. Maybe there's nobody like Mahomes or Watson in the past, but there's a real chance that we've missed out on a lot of athletes because of the rigid thinking of NFL coaches. They finally caught up. That's why Bill O'Brien still has a job.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson saved that man's job because he is that good.
No, Ryan Pace did.
Ryan Pace.
Right, because he took the other guy.
He took the other guy.
That's fair.
What would have happened was Bill O'Brien would have got Trubisky.
That's why Bears fans, I said,
place.
we're sorry, look away here. What's the status here of Tyreek Hill coming into a game like that?
They're hoping he can practice a little bit more this week, and if he does, then that moves him closer to being on the field. They're being careful with him, obviously. They're winning games without him, not last week notwithstanding. But, yeah, they're hoping that they see something in practice this week that at least lets them establish a timetable for when they'll have him back. I think it's far-fetched to think he plays this week.
It would be a huge addition, right?
Tyreek Hill is so fast and so dangerous that you can't man cover him, and that changes this team. They're a great offense without him, but you add him in there, they're terrifying.
He needs help, though, Mahomes. When you lose Hill, you lose Watkins, you don't have a
disrespect
backfield that's
Patrick
steady,
Mahomes.
right? Well, I'm
Patrick Mahomes don't need nothing but a damn football. That's all he needs.
He watched Sunday night. He needs
don't
some
need
help.
those.
He don't need two good ankles.
One
good ankle.
All right, let's talk about the
Maybe a
Steelers
tackle.
in this situation. All right, Mason Rudolph seemed like he'd be out for a while, Dan, after taking this devastating hit over the weekend. What are you hearing about his status?
Look, he was back in the building yesterday. He was released from the hospital Sunday, and everybody says he's doing well. He's in the concussion protocol, and what that means is if he passes step 1, step 2, through step 5, it's not impossible that he plays Sunday against the Chargers. I'm not saying he will, I'm not saying he won't, but it's not crazy. And the key thing people have to understand, it's not about what the hit looked like or what he looked like getting off the field. It's about, does he meet the requirements for getting through the concussion protocol by the end of the week? And
I get that.
I hear it.
But we're a species that depends a lot on visual things, especially watching football on the wows, right? And when you saw that hit, you paused for a second because you thought of the worst.
Yeah, I had never watched it or seen a hit like that. And I've been in some really violent games. I was on the field when Kevin Everett was paralyzed. So, I've been involved. I've never seen a hit like this where the thoughts, the worst thoughts went through my mind at that moment. And we saw Juju's reaction to it. It made the worst thoughts go through my mind. And while we don't understand everything about concussions, I believe the research suggests that after you have one, you're more prone to have one.
Correct.
So in a close proximity. So maybe he passed the protocol, but I still think it's dangerous, not just for Mason Rudolph, but it's dangerous for the business of football to put a guy back out there after having that image in all of our head where he is wobbling off the field. If something happens and he gets hit, and he goes down, that's bad for everybody, including the Steelers, the whole league.
Well, listen, I think what happens is when you watch from the outside, we all have big eyes and marshmallow hearts. And you can't do that. I've been in this situation. I've been in situations with concussions, and I understand the protocol. And Dan said in the meeting this morning, it's ever evolving because it's not a perfect science.
Right.
And so if Mason Rudolph can go through these things, if he can pass each step, pass each test, I believe he has an opportunity to play because that's what we all come, and that's the reasons that we are here.
All right, what's the union stance here, Dan?
Well, they're upset that he had to walk off the field, that there wasn't a cart, that the cart malfunctioned, and obviously, you know, they took the face mask off. It looks really bad. The guy couldn't walk. So the league has responded saying they ruled out a spinal injury. If the cart had been necessary, they had another cart they could have brought over. So, you know, this is a case where the league and the union very often will look into these situations and make sure the protocol was followed. And there are investigations of this type and queries of this type all the time. And I'm sure they'll continue to.
If they had another cart, they should have brought it out there and put him on there.
So I was there. I was on the sideline. So they walked him to a tunnel, and then there was another cart sitting there for him to go on. Then he took off his helmet, and he seemed. But again.
There's been no reports that anything was wrong with his leg. So we are left to assume that he was hit so hard in his brain that he could not walk straight. And someone determined that it was a good idea to let him walk up the field. That's bad. I don't care how you slice it.
All right, we'll see how this develops and plays out as the week continues as the Steelers face the Chargers. Let's go to the NBA. More fallout from Rockets GM Daryl Morey's tweet in support of anti-government protesters in Hong Kong. Wednesday in Shanghai, an NBA Cares event involving the Lakers was canceled hours before it was scheduled to start. The NBA said it was not their decision to cancel the event. Since then, NBA signage has been removed at events promoting Thursday's game between the Lakers and the Nets. For much more on this story, Rachel Nichols joins us from China. And Rachel, good morning to you first off. What's the latest there from Shanghai?
Yeah, you mentioned the signage. So right across from the Player Hotel was a 25-story banner that featured Anthony Davis's face, LeBron James' face, Kyrie Irving's face, advertising this game. And all day today, there was a lone construction worker on a cherry picker who was ripping it off of the building. So the players naturally have a lot of questions. Is this game still going to happen on Thursday? They had the chance to meet with Adam Silver during the day today. They asked him that question. He told them that the game is going to go forward as of now. That's the NBA's plan, although they're very dependent on the Chinese government for that to happen. I'm also told there was some frustration in the room of players being put in an unfair position. They feel like they've been asked to do media and answer questions. They can't really answer. In fact, media availability here today was postponed. We'll have to find out if we ever hear from the players here in China. In the United States, however, we are starting to hear from players talk about this. This is what James Harden had to say today.
Yeah, we all have freedom of speech. That's the world we live in. You know, everybody should, how they feel and their thought process, be able to speak it. You know, obviously some people are going to feel some type of way, some people are going to agree. That's just the world we live in. And so, I'm here for Adam Silver.
Harden has been supportive, as you heard there, of Adam Silver. He's also been supportive of the Chinese fans. And that's the other thing that the players here right now are experiencing. When they've been to China on individual trips with their sneaker company, they normally get a pretty wild reception. It's one of the most fun things for NBA players coming over to this part of the world. That hasn't been the case here because of all of the controversy with the government. What would usually be hundreds, maybe even 1,000 fans gathering to see them get off the bus or go to certain events has turned into just a much more thin crowd, dozens of fans maybe, Kevin. And in fact, those fans, while they're eager to come out and see these players, they don't want people to really know it. There were some fans that greeted the Lakers bus last night, but as soon as NBA entertainment cameras came over to show them being excited about the Lakers, we saw a bunch of fans hide their faces because they didn't want to be on record supporting the NBA. That is a huge change from what we've seen over here in the past.
Rachel Nichols giving us great perspective over at Shanghai as we will continue to follow this developing story throughout the day on ESPN. One baseball game last night. The Astros with the chance to wrap up their series against the Rays, going with Justin Verlander on 3 days rest. Joining us, Mark Teixeira on the highlight, and Tommy Pham in the first inning. What did the Rays bats do?
Well, the Rays bats got Verlander up. He had his slider up in the zone all night long. Tommy Pham made him pay here in the first.
And then later in the first inning, 2 outs, up 2-0, Joey Wendell here. And Verlander allows 3 runs in the first inning, the most runs he's allowed in the first inning of a playoff game in his career. Second career start on 3 days rest. You could see it in the Rays up 3-0. And then in the fourth inning, it felt like the Astros, the momentum. Uh-oh, here we go. And Yordan Alvarez hits this ball. And Jose Altuve got the green light from first, and he is moving. How about this relay from Kevin Kiermaier?
This is old school baseball. We can talk about home runs and strikeouts all you want, but this is what I want to see. I want to see a perfectly placed relay throw. This was so good. Kids, watch this over and over again. This is how you execute a relay from the wall.
And Darno with the beautiful tag. Adames, the beautiful throw. My goodness. You see how fast he was trucking. That is Altuve. Meanwhile, Adames, what do we see? A great defensive play. How often? Then you got the bat. You're feeling good about yourself. You're the ninth hitter, and bye-bye baseball.
And again, a hanging slider from Verlander. This is the number 9 hitter, Willy Adames, usually known for his glove. That home run made the Trop explode. 4-run lead. You know the Rays were feeling good about
It's
themselves.
great to see the yellow towels in that place. That team deserves it. Verlander, 3 2/3, 7 hits, 4 earned. He was done. Blake Snell, Cy Young winner on the bump. Runners in the corners in the ninth. And what does he do there?
That's a nasty slider. This is a guy, his first career relief appearance. Blake Snell, the Cy Young last year, completely unfazed.
And the Rays, that shift working in their favor. Looked like it was going up the middle. Yuli Gurriel, but Wendell is there. The Rays, they force a winner-take-all situation tomorrow night.
The low-hanging fruit is to sit there and say that this was short rest, and that's the reason why. I don't think so. I felt good. Body felt good physically. Just didn't execute the way I needed to.
Did you do what you said? Did you shock the world?
I think so. I mean, we've made it this far. I think that's pretty safe to say. But we're not content with this. We want to win one more and keep this thing going, and we plan on doing just that.
They've got nothing to lose. Mark Teixeira joining us. So what kind of chance do you give this team in a Game 5 matched up against Garrett Cole?
Well, they obviously have a chance, but I still like the Astros here. Garrett Cole in Game 2 against the Rays was absolutely dominating. A historical performance. 7 2/3. 15 punch-outs. He got 33 swing and misses. This is against a really good Rays lineup that puts the ball in play. Cole was dominant in Game 2, and if he does the same thing in Game 5, the Astros win.
Okay, big picture here. And Verlander tried to downplay it, though. What kind of domino effect could this have on the Astros going with Verlander last night?
This is huge. So the Astros were set up to have Verlander and Cole, the number 1 and 2 Cy Young candidates this year in the American League. They are a 1 and 2 punch. But if they go to the ALCS, guess who's starting Game 1?
Yeah.
Zach Greinke.
Yep.
So this, if I'm a Yankees fan, oh my goodness, I'm loving this because I don't have to face Cole or Verlander in Game 1. I get to face Zach Greinke. There's a domino effect. You don't want to look too far ahead, but if I'm the Yankees, I feel really good about my chances right now.
And Greinke wasn't sharp when we saw him in this series.
Not.
So we'll see how this plays out and see how long Garrett Cole can give the Astros in Game 5 tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mark. Ahead here on Get Up, something happened in Philly last night that's never been seen. Yeah, I can't believe it. Jalen Rose talks about the most important 3 in preseason history. Really? Look out, NBA. Ben is rolling. Meanwhile, Tom Brady and the Patriots are the defending Super Bowl champs, 5-0 to start this season. Why doesn't RC have them as the best team in the league? He'll tell you. This is Get Up.